Welcome to the space where worlds become portals and their soul remembers. I am
I was
Aliciadione,
born with a
and
fire
this
kiss,
is Soul.
tongue like truth, breathe like mist. I carry lifetimes in these hips and prayers inside my wrist. They said I'm too much, too wild, too free, but baby, I was never meant to be. Quiet, tame, contained, I am so untamed. Ooh, 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 ooh,
What is meant for you
I am
is already
so
in motion.
work slowly.
Let's see where it leads.
Magic in my skin,
The
healing
soul
while
already
you hold
knows.
me.
The cards are just
Say
catching
my
up.
name, feel the shift begin. Aliciadione, soul work within. Soul work within. This is not survival, this is return. You feel that? Yeah, we already home. Welcome to conversations that protect. Welcome to the blueprint. Welcome to the war room. Welcome to the rebirth. Welcome to the moment you finally say yes for real. Welcome to your journey home. We don't speak to perform, we speak to prepare. We don't hand out hope, we hand down prayers. Every word's a bomb, a blade, a blanket. This is soul armor in songs. Coming close, baby. We got you. That ache you carry, it's just your ancestors waking up in your chest. This is the welcome home. Long overdue. Breathe in the ashes, that's where you begin. The girl you were, she blessed the fire. The woman you becoming, she walks through it in gold. This is your shedding, this is your stretch, this is your return. You whispered yes, and the universe cracked wide open. No more maybe, no more delay. You said yes for real. Now spirit can move through.
Education and ancestral knowledge, okay? So the first thing that we have to do is reclaim education. Well, how can we reclaim education? It's very easily. And I'm going to break that down to you here. So they told us that history started with chains. They taught us that our story began in bondage, in suffering, and helplessness. Sorry. They painted us as background characters, the tragic chorus behind the greatness of empires that built their mountains on our backs, our monuments that built their monuments on our backs. But the lie always trembles under the weight of the truth. And now we are shaking the ground with our remembering. We are rewriting the script, not to edit their version, but to burn it down and build anew from the ashes. We are reclaiming the roots they tried to sever. We are speaking the names they tried to erase. We are resurrecting the power they tried to bury. Decolonizing education isn't about revising their history books. It's about throwing them out and writing our own, rooted in truth, spirit, and memory. It's about telling the whole truth, not the sanitized version, not the watered down narrative, not the at least they made it fairy tale. The brilliance before bondage, the kingdoms before captivity. The scientists, the astronomers, the surgeons, the herbalists, the architects, the warriors, the visionaries, the prophets, before the first shackle was ever forged. Because we were everything before we were called slaves. Because we had everything before they even knew the meaning of civilization. And when we remember this, we move differently. We dream differently. We build differently. We stop seeing ourselves as miracles of survival and start seeing ourselves as architects of destiny. So when we teach our children, our community, ourselves, we must teach beyond trauma. We must teach them the immensity. We must teach them the immensity of what they tried to suppress, the vastness of African empires, Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Kush, Kemet, civilization that birthed universities before Europe even knew what a library was, societies that mapped the stars without telescopes, built cities without concrete, healed bodies and with plants the Western world is still trying to discover. The brutal, deliberate horror of the transatlantic slave trade. Not just the whips and chains, but the resilience codes baked into the blood of those who survived. The resistance, the revolts aboard ships, the preservation of language and spirituality under impossible cruelty. The revolts they tried to erase, the Haitian Revolution that shook the world's order, Nat Turner's rebellion that terrified plantations into nightmares, maroon communities that disappeared into mountains and jungles, living free under the nose of empires. The survival systems birthed inside oppression, underground railroads, quiliombos, spiritual codes hidden inside hymns, underground economies fueled by barter, mutual aid, and sacred trust. The black brilliance that refused to die, the inventors, the healers, the engineers, the writers, the prophets, who created and dreamed while shackled, who wrote symphonies while being lynched, who built churches, businesses, and entire cities in the jaws of racism. We are not here because they allowed us to be. We are here because they couldn't kill the spirit coded into us. We are not a miracle of their mercy. We are a miracle of our own memory. Let's take a quick break. Let's absorb that in for a few minutes. Let's just think about that. We were more than just slaves, but they never tell us. They never tell us we were kings and queens, that we had golds and riches, that we were rich in family. That is never taught. That's why it's important that it's taught. Because to think that we were just slaves and we came from chains and we were just no better than animals, that's heavy. Let's take a break right back after these messages.
Skin like velvet, oils got me blessed. Every drop a ritual, every move finesse. Candles lit, steady aura set high. When I walk in the room, watch the envy go. Essentials only keep it real, no blessed. Every drop a ritual, every move finesse. Candles lit steady or set high. When I walk in the room, watch the envy go. Essentials only keep it real, no stress. Glow from the roots, yeah we shine, nothing less. Drip so divine, body magic in the air. Chimeka got the vibe, self-love everywhere. Essentials only keep it real, no stress. Glow from the roots, yeah we shine, nothing less. Drip so divine, body magic in the air. Chimeka got the vibe, self-love everywhere. Essentials only keep it real, no stress.
All right, let's go ahead and get back into this. There we go. All right, so colonization wasn't just about stealing land, it was about stealing minds, stealing memory, stealing futures. When we teach our children only from the same books that erased us, we feed them half truths that will starve their spirits. The colonization learning is ripping the blindfolds off. It's rejecting narratives that start with oppression instead of origin. It's daring to say, we were never meant to be slaves. We were never meant to be statistics. We were never meant to be silent. We are descendants of architects, navigators, dreamers, healers, prophets, kings, queens, warriors, priests, priestesses, and creators. We are memory reborn. The colonizing learning is pouring truth back into the bloodstream of our people so future generations don't have to spend their whole lives recovering what was hidden from them. We are not footnotes. We are not the black and white photos at the end of the chapter. We are not the optional lesson plan. We are not tragedy neatly resolved by a civil rights section. We are the architects. We are the blueprints. We are the ones who built pyramids when the world thought the sky was the limit. We were the ones who mapped rivers when maps didn't exist. We were the ones who rebelled when rebellion was a death sentence. We are the ones who built hope from ashes, cities from scars, futures from the thin air of possibility. Before they shackled our bodies, they had to erase our crowns. We are putting them back on, not as symbols of nostalgia, but as declarations of destiny. Decolonizing learning is not about hatred, it's about the truth. It's about healing, it's about resurrection, it's about telling the full story. It's about giving our children back the mirrors that showed them not as broken descendants of brokenness, but as living temples of ancient power. We owe them that truth. We owe ourselves the truth. We owe our ancestors the full restoration of memory. In decolonizing our education, we decolonize our future. One way we can educate, or one version of educating, is to unschool. And unschool is is a very unique way of learning. You really get to see when you unschool how education driven or what piques your child's interests and what they naturally gravitate and learn about. So you don't have to wait for permission slips stamped by a system that was never built to tell your children the full truth. You don't have to wait for approval from institutions. Sorry, y'all. Institutions that profit off their erasure. You don't have to cross your fingers and hope the next generation gets it through the cracks. You can start teaching today, right where you stand. You are already qualified. You are already equipped. You are already called. Unschooling isn't abandoning learning, unschooling is liberating it. It's the sacred act of taking education out of the hands of the colonizers and putting it back into the hands of the people it belongs to. It's not about rejecting knowledge, it's about choosing which knowledge feeds the soul instead of starving it. It's about refusing to let your child's first experience of their blackness be pain, chains, and tragedy. It's about letting their first lessons be about kings, queens, scientists, healers, architects, warriors, gods, and goddesses. Unschooling doesn't require a private classroom. It doesn't require $1,000 curriculum. It requires intention. It requires sacred memory, remembering. It requires a willingness to build a university right in the soul of your everyday life. And it looks like this: books that tell the real history, books that aren't afraid to say the word Africa without pity in their voice, books that speak the name of Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, Imhotep, Ida B. Wells, Marcus Garvey, without apology or edit. Books that show the migrations, the civilizations, the rebellions, the victories. Read them to your children. Read them to yourself. Fill your home with narratives that empower, not diminish. Every page turns a light back on in their lineage. Documentaries that show the real faces. Watch stories that reveal the faces of inventors who changed the world with no credit, the revolutionaries who turned plantations into battlefields, the healers who kept communities alive when doctors refused to treat them, the artists who painted, danced, and wrote against the odds. Let your living room become a theater of remembrance. Let the screens pour images into their eyes that the textbooks never will. Flashcards that celebrate our legacy. Not just numbers and letters, but flashcards that celebrate African gods and goddesses. Ogun, Oshun, Yemaya, Shango, Elegua. Black inventors, Louis Latimer, Madam C.J. Walker, Garrett Morgan, Dr. Patricia Bath. Civil rights heroes, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Bayard Rustin, cultural symbols, cowrie shells, kente cloth, ankhs, Adrinka symbols, black power fists. Give them daily affirmations of who they come from. Let them recognize the sacred in their own reflections. Storytelling at bedtime isn't just for fairy tales from foreign lands, it's for ancestral remembering. Tell the stories of your family's migration from the South, from the islands, from the continent, the battles your grandparents fought, quiet and loud, the miracles that kept your bloodline alive when it should have ended. Bedtime becomes a classroom of encouragement. Every story becomes a shield around their spirits. Let's cre- let creati- create let creativity be a portal back to self. Paint murals of resistance and freedom. Build models of ancient cities like Timbuktu or Great Zimbabwe. Design jewelry inspired by West African goldsmiths. Make collages of freedom fighters, healers, and inventors. Art isn't extra. Art is education that sinks into the soul where words can't always reach. Take them into the living classroom around you. Black owned museums that honor our journey without shame. Historical landmarks where ancestors fought, built and loved. African festivals, Caribbean carnivals, Juneteenth parades, Kwanzaa celebrations, community ceremonies that remember the old ways and bless the new ones. Let them feel culture in their bones. Let them smell it in the air. Let them dance it into their memory because no textbook will ever match the power of a drumline thundering inside a child's chest. Every conversation, every story, every song, every plate of seasoned food with ancestral memory, every painting, every field trip, all of it becomes a curriculum. All of it becomes sacred education. All of it becomes liberation in motion. You don't have to teach everything at once. You don't have to have a perfect system. You just have to start. You just have to plant the seeds, water them with truth, tend them with love. Spirit will multiply your efforts. Ancestors will bless the work. The future will honor the soil you broke open. Home was the first classroom. The kitchen table was the first school desk. The heart was the first textbook. Before the colonizers built universities, the ancestors built wisdom circles. Before textbooks were chained to have truth, truth was woven into songs, dances, prayers, and family tables. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it faithfully. Because every home that remembers becomes a battlefield won for the future. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back.
From the ground up, we rise in no fear. Voices of the people make the vision clear. Hands linked strong, we can't be denied. Healing in the circle, ancestors by our side. Stand together, we gon' rise forever. COC, we shine through any weather. Building bridges, lifting souls, that's true. Healing and growth, growing looks good on you. We gon' rise forever. COC, we shine through any weather. Building bridges, lifting souls, that's true. Healing and growth, growing looks good on you.
No envy in the garden, only seeds of love. Blessings rain down from the stars above. Every setback, fuel for the flame we light. We transform the struggle into pure insight.
Stand together, we gon' rise forever. COC, we shine through any weather. Building bridges, lifting souls, that's true. Healing and growth, growing looks good on you. Stand together, we gon' rise forever. COC, we shine through any weather. Building bridges, lifting souls, that's true. Healing and growth, growing looks good on you. It looks good. Oh, it looks good. Oh,
Big relentless up in this. It's big mouthpiece. Oh, you ain't know. That ain't love, that's like hatred. Come on, brother. Why you niggas still on fake shit? Come on, brother. How you black but you a racist? Come on, brother. She sleeping with her twin husband, see this tasteless. Come on, sister. Time to take it back to the king queen shit. Come on, sister. Time to take it back to the king queen shit. Come on, brother. It's time to take it back to the king queen shit. Come on, three. It's time to take it back. Come on, it's like an emergency. Time to get moving with urgency. Big mouthpiece back. Take it, this shit sold up like surgery. Shout out to DJ King Miller and all those that work in the clergy. Can't waste no time. We better do it in a hurry. Set a date at 9 or probably even 9:30. Why they so quick to talk down but slow to show love to me? Quick to eat off the table but won't plan me, want something for me. I gave them my open arms, now they acting like they don't know me. I need some direction, that's when Queen Money Tide told me. Focus on the bag, all that nonsense is below me. So turn me up, don't be shady, press that like up for me. Hey, you can't look down on your brother, I used to swipe from the corner store cause I was hungry. Instead of respecting my grind, how you gon' throw shade on me? Big brother hate my guts, tryna chop off my feet, but I am not Toby. Haters be praying on my downfall, but be acting like we homies. That ain't love, that's like hatred. Come on, bruh. Why you niggas still on fake shit? Come on, bruh. How you black but you a racist? Come on, bruh. She sleeping with her twin husband, see that's tasteless. Come on, sister. Time to take it back to the king queen shit. Come on, sister. Time.
All right, come on, brother. That was Mouthpiece. Y'all can catch him every Saturday night around 9:30 ish. Just check his listing. He'll let you know when he's gonna go live. So now we're gonna go back into education, and this time we're gonna focus on spiritual education. They told us that spirit was superstition. They called our prayers primitive. They twisted the sacred ceremonies of our ancestors into warnings of darkness. They stripped our rituals from our tongues, burned our altars, and branded the names of our gods as evil. They disconnected us, not from the land, not from the history, but from spirit itself. They severed the original university, the dream world where ancestors whispered strategies, the forest where plants offered healing, the stars where the future was mapped, the rivers where deities moved and answered prayers, the bones, the breath, the heartbeat of the earth itself, herself, speaking back to us. They called it superstition to break the bridge between us and the power, but the blood remembers. The dreams remember. The body remembers. And now we are remembering too. We're not just fighting for political education, historical education, or financial education. We are fighting for the restoration of the spiritual education that was never meant to be lost. Because a child who knows how to count but does not know how to connect will still be lost. Because a community that knows the dates but doesn't know how the code will still be prey. Because people who know how to debate but not how to discern spirits whispers will still be captured. Spiritual education is survival education. Without it, we are as smart slaves. With it, we are free souls. We must return spirit to its rightful place, not as an extra, but as essential, not about the ancestors. I'm sorry, teach about the ancestors, not as ghosts haunting hallways, but as living guides walking with us every day. Those known and unknown who sit beside us when we pray, whisper wisdom into our hearts, and fight for our own survival in realms unseen. Children must know their protection didn't start with them. Their blessings are layered in prayers older than their great grandmother's great grandmother. Their existence is the answer to prayers they never heard or seen. Teach about the Orishas, not as myths, not as fables, but as divine forces of nature, energies representing balance, justice, love, healing, movement, transformation. Ogun, the warrior and protector. Oshun, the sweet waters of love, beauty, fertility. Yemaya, the mother of oceans, the nourisher of life. Shango, the fire of leadership and rightful power. Teach that these energies are still alive, not in some faraway past, but in the winds, the water, the wood, and the blood. Teach about angels, not just chubby beings in paintings, but divine messengers still dispatched to protect, guide, and warn the righteous. Teach that angels are not distinct relics. They are active forces moving between dimensions on behalf of those who walk with pure hearts and fierce purpose. Michael with the sword, Gabriel with the message, Raphael with the healing. Spirit never stopped. The world just stopped listening. Teach about dream symbols, not as random firings of neurons, but as ancestral telegrams. When the elders dreamed of waters rising, they prepared for floods. When warriors dreamed of crows, they knew battle was near. When healers dreamed of serpents, they knew medicine was calling. Teach the children and ourselves that dreams are portals, messages, maps, not something to ignore, but something to honor and decode. Because in the darkest times, spirit may speak clearest in the language of our dreams. Teach about crystals, not just as pretty rocks, but as living libraries on Earth's memory. Quartz, obsidian, amethyst, black tourmaline, each carrying codes for healing, protection, amplification, manifestation. Teach them that the earth holds wisdom too, and we were meant to be in conversation with her. Teach her about herbal wisdom, not just as recipes, but as spiritual pharmacy. How to recognize a dandelion, not as a weed, but as a liver healer. How to brew chamomile for nerves, elderberry for immune strength, mugwort for dreams. How to heal with the earth before running to systems built to capitalize off our sickness. Herbs were our first medicines. Spirits, gifts wrapped in green, growing under the very feet of those who forgot their power. Teach them how to listen to the trees and the leaves. Teach them how to brew survival. Why is spiritual education? Why is it survival education? Because when the system collapses, and they do, it won't just be who has the most degrees that survives. It won't be who has the best job skills that thrives. It will be who can hear spirit when the noise gets deafening. Who can trust their intuition when logic fails? Who can decode the dreams when warnings come in the night? Who can heal themselves when doctors are not an option? Who can call on unseen forces when visible ones betray them? Spirit is the original protection plan. Without spirit, survival is shallow. With spirit, survival becomes resurrection. The sacred is not separate from the academic. The sacred is the original university. Before there were schoolhouses and desks, there were sacred groves where children learned to listen to the wind. Sorry. There were sacred groves where children learned to listen to the wind. There were riverbanks where elders taught prayers to the waters. There were fires where dreams were decoded and destinies were shaped. Spirit was always part of the curriculum until it was stripped out to make it easier to break us. We are pulling it back, not as superstition, but as strategy, as survival, as sovereignty. Teach spirit as urgently as you teach history. Teach intuition as passionately as you teach language. Teach prayer and protection as seriously as you teach math, because the future won't just belong to the well informed, it will belong to the well connected, connected to the ancestors, connected to the land, connected to the invisible armies still moving on our behalf. And when they are connected, truly connected, nothing and no one can erase them. So we're going to put a pin in it there, and we'll come back with next week with the family archives and how to do elder interviews and record the history, and of course close it out. So thank you. See you guys next episode, and I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something from it. If you have any questions, hit it up in the chat. Let me know what's going on. We can make a follow-up video for it. But again, thank you.
I don't chase, I enchant, move like smoke, speaking chance. You call it luck, I call it law. You call it fine, I raw. I don't chase, I enchant, move like smoke, speaking chance. You call it luck, I call it law. You call it fine, I call it flawless, raw. Lipstick like blood moonlight. My silence hits harder than a fight. I don't flex, I exist, and your ego can't handle this. You can't touch this aura. Go dip, blessed by the flora.